Okay, hi everyone. Yeah, we're back for another quick look at some of your comments. Um, don't forget, just post them in under any of the videos, and we'll try and pick out as many as we can, really, and try and give you answers to your questions, comments, and also criticisms. If you don't believe what I'm saying, if you don't agree with what I'm saying, then obviously say that as well, and we will pick it up here. Hunky Dory, love the name. Hi Graham, keep up the good work with your campaign to end the reign of this pointless and parasitic monarchy. Can't come soon enough. I would love for you to do an analysis of the BBC's complicity in promoting the monarchy. The way that the BBC gives frequent news slots to royalty, particularly at the moment Kate and William, reveals that the BBC has a remit to propagandise the royals and as a positive entity. Now, this is an issue. We have raised it a number of times with the BBC, and I will do a video on this. I think this is a good idea. And there's plenty we've done in the past, and particularly around the big events of sort of 8-9 years ago. So the William-Kate wedding, the Jubilee in 2012, the coverage of the William-Kate's first baby in 2013, and we were constantly reminding the BBC that they have a duty to impartiality. Now, some of our criticisms, well, a lot of our criticisms and comments made the press quite widely, and we wrote a letter to the BBC, and they agreed and had a meeting with us, quite senior executives. I don't think they really took it on board, but some journalists have taken it on board, and there has been notable changes in the coverage of some people. But I think that rather than having an active remit to propagandise the royals, I think a lot of it is cultural. I think a lot of it is that there's been a habit of treating it as a sort of soft story, kind of an entertainment story, a nice story to have at the end of the news, and there's a sense that there's a belief, certainly among some people, that this is the monarchy. We are a constitutional monarchy, and while we are, we ought to say what these people are up to. And yes, they get it wrong, and I think they get it wrong all the time. And when you have so much trivia reported about the royals, I think that's a real problem. And it certainly serves the purpose of propagandising. So yeah, it's a problem, and I will do a video on that. So watch this space. Now, Helen Heenan. I always get the impression when people tell me the monarchy is good for tourism that they are desperately looking for some reason we should keep them. When I ask these people what else the monarchy is good for, the only other benefit they can find is that we're better off with a king or queen compared with having a president like Trump. Now, Helen, this is absolutely my experience as well. I think that long ago any real defence of the monarchy just no longer made sense to people. I mean, we are Democrats. We believe in inequality. We want money properly spent and all the rest of it. People take an interest in the way that government is run and so on, and they apply a very different set of standards to the monarchy. And I think people are kind of aware of this in the back of their mind, and so they try and find a reason to defend it. And tourism is it, really. I mean, it's a nonsense argument for all sorts of reasons, and I've done a video on this, obviously, as you've seen. But and this thing about having a king or queen instead of Trump, I mean, no one's arguing to have a US-style president. So whether you like Trump or hate Trump, that's not the sort of person that we are arguing for. We're talking about a constitutional head of state. So, but yeah, I think it's symptomatic of the fact that people don't really engage with the issue. And haven't thought about it an awful lot. I've noticed people when I've gone and done live debates, they come up with these things, I answer them, and by the end of the evening they're voting on our side. So I think if people are saying this kind of thing, they probably don't care that much about the monarchy, but they're repeating what they've heard other people say as to why we should have it. Bugle Becky. As a foreigner, it is not really my place to say anything about the Queen. Well, you're absolutely welcome to say what you like about the Queen. Not really my place to say anything about the Queen, her role in the UK, the royal family, or even the UK itself. But the ideas and principles of the Republic campaign have my full support, and you, Graham, are doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Explaining them and promoting them. Well done, very well done. I don't know why I included that. I can't imagine why I added that one in, but thank you, Bugle Becky. you are absolutely welcome to comment on the monarchy. Plenty of people do from elsewhere, usually wondering what the hell we're doing, still keeping it. So yeah, it's now you can also email comments in. This one is from Jamie. I just watched your video about tourism and the monarchy. I thought it was great. I wanted to ask you guys if you guys have a plan to address the question of the military oath of allegiance. I'm in the Army Reserve, and one of the weirdest bits of joining up was swearing allegiance to the Queen and her descendants. It seems very strange that in 2020, every member of the British Armed Forces is loyal to a specific family rather than to the country or Parliament. Aside from being feudal and outmoded, it raises the question of who the armed forces are obliged to obey in case Britain does become a republic. Thanks, Jamie. Jamie, I mean, this is an important point, and I think we have talked about we've certainly raised the general issue of oaths in the past. We even had a early day motion tabled with cross-party support it's going back a decade now, I think, to have an alternative oath for MPs. I do want to do more on the military, not just the oaths, but also the royals' general relationship with the military. I think it's fairly appalling the way they dress up in uniforms and wear ranks and medals that they haven't earned. In terms of the oath, yes, I mean, let's have another look at that. I'll do a video on the oaths and specifically on the armed forces as soon as I can. In terms of allegiance, I mean, the reality is that the armed forces manual, or whatever it's called, makes it very clear that they are there to do the bidding of the government of the day. So there's no real grey area about where their allegiance lies, which does make a slight nonsense of the oath anyway. I mean, it is a daft oath. Robert, who emailed with a bunch of suggestions for videos and so on. Graham, fabulous work on the podcast and YouTube. Thank you very much. Don't forget podcastrepublic.org.uk/podcast to find links to those. You can find them on Spotify and the Apple podcast thing. So yeah, from Robert, some suggestions for topics for analysis, discussion. Is it patriotic to support the monarchy? Obviously not. No, well maybe, but I mean, I think the patriotism thing is really interesting. I think we should definitely address that. What do our members think? Why are they Republicans? I think that's an interesting thing to look at. Does the monarchy really unite the people? I think this is a very important question. People say it unites the country. I don't think so. I mean, there's no evidence of it. Does monarchy really generate income for the country? So we've sort of done that, touched on that on the tourism thing, and the video about Brand Finance Report is worth watching if you want some more information on that one. Do a majority really support the monarchy? So yeah, that's a little bit more complicated because the majority do answer the question, do you want to keep the monarchy or get rid of it, saying they want to keep it. But that's it's very shallow. I think support is wide but shallow, and I think it's worth having another look at some of the more detailed questions in the polling that's available. So I think that's definitely worth looking at. Interviewing a royal correspondent, quite possibly, yeah. I think that could be interesting. I mean, I think that I know most of them. I think they have a fairly mixed set of views on the institution. Obviously, they know the monarchy and the royals pretty well. Okay, and Robert's final suggestion is, how about exploring the history of the monarchy, the real history, as opposed to the Ladybird version? Yeah, I think that's a really interesting idea. And you mentioned a couple of people that have written on this, so maybe we can talk to them and get some sort of expert views on that, because you're right, there is this mythology built into the way that we talk about the history of British royals. I mean, it is a history of bloody violence, revolution, coup. It is oppression, torture. I mean, Queen Elizabeth I was particularly barbaric in her use of torture, and yet we are told to venerate her as one of the great leaders of our past. So I think there's plenty to be said about that. So thanks very much for your comments. We will keep on coming back to these as often as we need to. Just post whatever you want to, comments, questions, obviously on topic to more or less. And if you don't agree, if you're a monarchist, if you don't agree with a specific part of what we're saying or what I've said, then absolutely stick that in the comments, and I will keep an eye on that and try and do these fairly regularly so we can kind of get an interesting debate going, as well as watching the videos that I make on the specific issues. So thanks again, and see you next time.